to anybody who's watching this back. For some reason, I've forgotten how to share the link. So I'm just doing that just now. Okay, got it. I hope that's working. I'm just waiting. I'm talking to nobody, waiting for people. Is that working? Oh yeah, okay. Hi! Sorry. I couldn't figure out if I'd done it wrong, even though I did it once before, but I was doubting myself. Hi. Okay, cool. Oh, good. It's fully functioning. People are finding it. Somebody has commented on the post as well. Let me just refresh that. I'm sorry, it's a little bit dark. There's no better lighting at this time of night. Yes, right. So there's no good lighting, basically. Just hope that listening is enough. Oh my god, sorry, I can't work technology. Okay. Right. Well, 10 people said they could come, so I'll give it a couple minutes before we really get into the chit chat, since there's 3 just now. Maybe when it looks okay, thank you. Maybe when it hits 5 we can start the proper chat. But yeah, I'm assuming everyone read Antigone by Sophocles. I have to. Oh, okay. Yep, more people. Hello. In the meantime, you can all tell me how your weekend has been whilst we wait. I've had a chilled weekend. I was ill during the week. I had a cold, so I spent the weekend catching up on uni work. I've also. Oh, I was gonna. Good. Okay. Oh, holidays. Where are you going? Moving house? Going on holiday? You're currently. My laptop is propped up on The Odyssey by Homer, which is our next read. Wow, 90 degrees to 60. I can't directly convert that into Celsius, but I know that 90 is hot. Wow, oh my goodness. I've never been to the United States. Very jealous. Thank you. It was just a bit of one of those 3-day intense colds that has you completely just not functioning for a few days, and then it's fine. Seemed to be over it. Drank a lot of lime sips. Sorry, that's another comment. Oh my goodness. A broken bed is a pretty big disaster. I've not heard of Mad Girls Love Song either, the book. I just can't afford it. You have any idea how expensive it is to get an aeroplane to America from the UK? I ain't got that money. Maybe one day. I would like to make it sort of my priority. I've never been outside of Europe. I would really like to sort of, when I have the kind of facilities, to just save a bit for a nice big trip somewhere like America, particularly. I'd like to go to New York, I think, or Boston, or San Francisco. Those I think would be my top 3 that I would pick from to go to first. But first, got to get the money. So we'll see. Oh gosh, it's just you get really used to sort of like flights in Europe are pretty inexpensive for what they are. If you're flying from the UK, you can like get return trips for less than £100, which is awesome. But oof, going to America, no thanks. Um, yeah. Okay, I think like we can start talking now. Hello. Oh, there we go. See, everyone's in America. I don't know what times it is for everybody. Yeah, my parents went to Boston and they loved Boston. That's kind of why I want to go. They really liked it. Um, yeah. Okay. We're not here to talk about America. As fascinating as that is. 2 p.m. Okay, well, if you're in England, you are also 8 minutes past 7, I assume, unless something really wacky is happening. It's always like gets me how completely different times of the day we can all be in right now. Like some of you guys' days are just starting, really, whereas I'm probably going to eat some dinner after this and go to bed. But I'm really excited to talk about Antigone with you all. So yeah, I assume most of you have read this Greek play. This was my first time reading this Greek play, so I'm generally on a quest to read all of this extant classical Greek tragedies, which there's like 33, 31, that just like in the 30 something. There's 30 something. I actually recently made a Goodreads list of all of them if you want to look at that, because let me get the list, because you can obviously on Goodreads tick if you've read something, want to read it, or haven't read it, and it just means like you can see how much progress you've made on reading all of the ancient Greek tragedies. Now, I have read over half, which I'm very pleased to say, but I'm definitely not near the end yet. But thankfully, I'm one more forward thanks to us reading Antigone. 33. Yeah. Okay. Should just trust myself, eh? Stop doubting. So I think I made the list as the Oresteia is just one, but technically it's 3 plays. That's why it looks as 31. If anybody wants the link, here is a Goodreads list of all of the ancient Greek tragedies that you can tick off once you've read them. So yeah, Antigone was a first read for me. I know some of you at least had read it before. I don't know who else is at a sort of reread for or first read of, just to like gauge that, because it's a very popular play. It's always been a very popular play, and that's one of the things I've sort of learnt about it, is that it was even very popular in its day when Sophocles first performed it. It was very well regarded and was continued to be very highly regarded by ancient people after Sophocles' death, and has continued to be popular into the modern day. And it's one of the most popular ancient Greek tragedies to really teach, as far as I'm aware. Saying that, I was never taught it in university, but all of the people I know who studied classics in some form or another in high school, whether it was part of English or drama, or they actually got to study classics as a subject area, did Antigone in school. So, like, I guess it's meant to be quite a good intro to classical tragedies, and it's very popular. Yeah, see, lots of readers, and I never had read it, but I'm really glad I have now, because I feel like I can now sort of get in on that discussion. I read it. I know what's going on. Yes, so I've read Oedipus Rex before as well. So most of the time, it depends on the edition you've got. Sophocles' Antigone is published in bind-ups of the 3 Theban plays, which are Oedipus Rex, Antigone, and Oedipus at Colonus. Technically, chronologically, the events of the plays go Oedipus Rex, then Oedipus at Colonus, then Antigone, because obviously the first 2 follow Oedipus, who's Antigone's father, who is dead by the time we're reading Antigone, and following what's happening in that story. And I had read Oedipus Rex as a part of a course in university, but I've still not read Oedipus at Colonus, so that I think is going to be next. So I've completed all 3. However, they're not an official trilogy. So ancient Greek tragedies, just for a bit of background as well, I'm sorry if you know this and I'm just repeating what you already know, were performed in 3s. They were performed as trilogies, written as trilogies, with a 4th play at the end, which was like a sort of comic relief. It was a satire, and it wouldn't be like the same plot following on. It would just be like a funny play to kind of round things off. But the only trilogy we have surviving completely is the Oresteia by Aeschylus, and this was not a trilogy. These are just 3 plays about the same family that Sophocles wrote separately. And presumably they would have had their own accompanying stories and been in their own trilogies. So I wonder what those would have been. Maybe we know, I'm not sure. Sometimes we know what the trilogies were. That I don't know. So yeah, so I'm really glad that I finally have read it, because like I feel like I can join in the conversation, and there's so many Antigone retellings, like because it's been so popular for such a long time, there are so many retellings. I don't know if any of you have read them, but most recently I know Camilla Shamsi's Home Fire was a retelling of Antigone, although it's set in modern day Britain and deals with sort of religious extremism, but sort of through the story of Antigone. It takes place in this family and uses the themes and kind of plot of Antigone to tell its story. I don't know if anybody's read that. It was longlisted for the Man Booker last year. It was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. It's been longlisted for everything. And it is on my shelf, and now I feel like I can read it now that I've read Antigone. Not that you have to have read Antigone to read it, but as a classicist, I always like to have read the ancient work before I read the modern retelling. So I'm definitely going to be reading Home Fire soon. But it was also like really popular during World War II as well. There was a lot of plays restaging it, set in where they always, I don't know if they were set during World War II, but there was one that was performed in occupied Paris, and because it deals with sort of political themes and the relationship between the state and its people, like they were quite controversial to have been put on during World War II. It was like kind of making digs at what was going on in occupied Paris, sort of under the nose of the Nazis, which was very interesting. And I'd like to read those retellings now and sort of learn a little bit more about it. Yeah, oh, well, I'm really excited to read Home Fire. I've only heard good things about it. Yeah, so that's the thing, isn't it, with ancient Greek myths? I knew the story as well when I was reading it, but I still really enjoyed reading it. Actually, another retelling that came out not long ago was Children of Jocasta by Natalie Haynes, which, interestingly enough, focuses on Jocasta, who's Antigone's mother in the first half. So as opposed to being focused on Oedipus, it focuses on Jocasta. And then the second half focuses on Ismene, who is Antigone's sister. So it kind of gives voice to the characters that are less represented in these plays. And it made me very aware. It's interesting how these like books change your perspective on things, but it made me very aware of Ismene as a character when I was reading this play, having read Children of Jocasta, where the whole part of the plot is told from the perspective of Ismene, which I think is really interesting. And so what I really like about modern retellings is I think they give you a new perspective on myth and make you sort of consider it in a new way, and it works your brain, which is good. Well, I'm glad we read Antigone then, so you, like me, have the opportunity to read Home Fire. Maybe we should make that one of the book club reads. Don't know if anyone would be interested in reading Home Fire as part of the book club, because obviously we'd have that background of having read Antigone together. But I don't know, did any of you really dislike it? Did you enjoy it? You just sort of feel neutral about it? I don't know. I'm wondering how much you liked it, really. Oh, okay. I'll definitely put it on the next poll. I'll put Home Fire on the next poll. Promise. I can't promise it's the one because you can choose, but I'll put it on the poll as an option. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not my favourite ancient Greek tragedy, but Sophocles never has been. This is my third Sophocles play. I've read Ajax and Oedipus Rex, both of which I enjoy, and I very much appreciate Sophocles as a writer. Again, he was so highly regarded at the time. People freaking loved Sophocles. But of the three ancient Greek tragedians, I've always been a Euripides girl. Euripides are my favourite, and I like this play, but it's hard not to compare it to other Greek tragedies I've read. So it's not my favourite ancient Greek tragedy, but it's also not my least favourite. So there you go. That's my feeling. Yeah, is it my favourite Sophocles? It's been quite a few years since I've read Oedipus Rex, and I really liked Ajax. I think Ajax might be my favourite Sophocles. Sorry. Yeah, no, absolutely. And that, to say it's not my favourite isn't to say I disliked it. I liked it. I did like it. Definitely liked it. Oh my gosh, you saw Oedipus Rex as a child? Yeah, that would be traumatic with the eyes. Yep. Ajax is very good. So I enjoyed Antigone, and I'm glad I read it. I'm very glad I read it. Okay, what do we talk about first? Okay, since I was talking about sort of retellings, I don't know if anybody else thought this, but did the ending make you feel? Did it remind anyone else of Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare? So I know that obviously Shakespeare was super influenced by classics and antiquity. It's all over his plays. But I very much felt like the ending of this play made me think of Romeo and Juliet, because I mean it's obviously not the focus of the story, isn't these tragic lovers, but the fact that Antigone and Haman, I should be able to remember that, die at the end. Yeah, Haman, Creon's son, and they're betrothed to one another, and the fact that they both die at the end. Whereas, like, if Creon had just arrived like a little bit earlier and sort of reprieved Antigone, it would have saved the life of both of them. Like, Haman wouldn't have killed himself. It's sort of like that kind of the two young people in love that kill them. That, well, obviously Antigone didn't kill herself, but like that die, and one of and in part kill themselves because they can't be together. But they're also like just tragic circumstances in which they could have been together if Creon had just been a bit quicker. Made me think of Romeo and Juliet. But that's not to say that's really where Shakespeare got his inspiration, because it's probably a pretty standard plot. Okay, thank you. At least I'm not crazy. I'm glad you guys agree. Okay, now I feel better. I'm like, that wasn't just me. Okay, yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, no, that's okay. I feel like we're on the same page. Well, this would be such a good class if we were like studying this together. It is a very well constructed play, and what I really like, I think is very clever about it, is that Creon, at the beginning of the play, is kind of setting himself up as this, is upholding the democratic values and sort of doing justice to the city, and he like introduces himself with that speech where he's just like, on top of it. He's taking care of the people and the land. And this is being performed to the Athenian democracy, where their democracy is very important to them. So he's sort of really emphasizing that loyalty to the people have to the state, and how the state takes care of their people as well. Whereas, like, you kind of gradually realize that he's actually selfish throughout the play. Like, he gets more selfish, and you realize he's not doing it for the benefit of the people. He's actually in it for himself. In fact, there was a line or something along those lines, wasn't there, where he's like, what's more important, the people or myself, or something like that. I can't remember the exact line. We should probably tab the book, but I thought that was very good. It was very clever how like that kind of slowly unfolds, and I can imagine that would be very impressive on the stage. And I think, given like the political context that this was being performed in and the state that it was being performed in, that would have really kind of hit home with the audience. So I enjoyed that. I mean, Creon is a nasty piece of work. Yeah. That's all I can say on that matter. I don't know if I'm like a die-hard Antigone fan though either. Like, obviously she's very strong-willed and she's the central character, but I didn't like come away thinking I love any of these characters. I didn't fall in love with any of them as people. But that was pretty much my reaction to most Greek myths. I like that Hamlet vibes because lots of people died at the end. I haven't read Hamlet. You've spoiled it for me. I'm joking. I vaguely know the plot of Hamlet. But I haven't read it, and that's another thing I want to do, is read more Shakespeare. So I'll also be putting more Shakespeare on the polls. That's a promise, because I want to read more Shakespeare. Hamlet. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's hard to like anybody in an ancient Greek tragedy, really, because you don't get to see all sides of them. Yeah, really good. Yeah, exactly. So you're like gradually, like I like the sort of that gradual effect of Creon is a bit of a dick. Yeah, and that's very true. When Haman tells him that the people, yeah, you don't want your people fearing you. Although that's basically how the gods rule, is through fear. But mortals aren't gods, and they cannot behave like gods, and they cannot go against the gods' wishes, which is definitely one of the mottos in this play. You can't go against tradition and mottos. I think that's one of the things I found a little bit less inspirational about Antigone. Now, okay, so Antigone is actually more selfless than Creon. But one of the arguments I've heard, so this, I was going into this play thinking this, so this affected my reading experience, I will confess that. So I'd sort of been told by people before that they sort of thought of Antigone as a feminist play. Now, personally, I don't really think you can see any ancient literature as feminist fully, because I just don't think it is, anyway, because of the context of when it's written, and it's never really that subversive of women's place in society. And I get that Antigone in this context is sort of like, she is the brave one, the loyal one, but at the same time, she's not sticking up for women or like the oppression of women or really the oppression of anybody. She's just defending traditional values and sticking up for those traditional values and her family, as women were expected to do. Like, women's roles in funerals and taking care of the dead were like a traditional part of women's roles in ancient Greece. So I don't really see those actions as feminist actions. They're like, great, good for her, like, but they're not in any way subverting women's roles in society or kind of going against women as inferior. So that's why I wouldn't really consider it as feminist. But obviously, I'm not saying any, like you're saying, that it's feminist, and also it's okay to interpret it that way. That's absolutely fine. But just, I'd sort of been told by people that they saw like Antigone as like a feminist role model when she didn't really live up to that for me. But that's maybe a bit unfair on her, because the only reason I thought that was because other people said that, not because of really anything about the play that said that. So yeah, that's my random thoughts. I don't know, like, what did you guys expect going into it? That was what I expected. What did you guys expect going into this play? I would be interested to know about that. Did it live up to your expectations, or was it different from what you expected? Did the myth vary from what you knew about the myth beforehand? Yeah. Is Antigone your new hero? Which is totally okay if she is. I mean, again, better than Creon, for sure. I felt like I wanted to know more about Ismene, I'm not going to lie. I felt like I've developed a soft spot for Ismene, and I want to know more about her. Yeah, exactly. It's very like there. See, maybe that's why I like Ismene as well. Like, Antigone very much prioritizes her brothers, and like I felt very bad for Ismene. Like, Antigone like properly condemns Ismene for not wanting to go against Creon, when like she was just like, Ismene was just trying to like get on with things. Like, you know, she was just sort of like, I don't want to die, which is fair enough. I'm not trying to kill anybody either. Like, not really sure we should go against Creon. He's in charge now. And Antigone is pretty bloody hard. Poor Ismene. I feel like I'm being really hard on Antigone now, though. When obviously Antigone is not the villain of this play, and is really not the villain of this story either. But they're nuanced characters, are they not? Nobody's perfect. Although Creon is just full on awful. So you can't be perfect, but you can be like full on the opposite of perfect. I think. That's really interesting, and I think like that doesn't surprise me going into ancient literature for the first time. That's kind of how I felt about reading ancient literature for the first time. But did it was it easier to read than you thought it would be? Because that is one of the things I like. I think if you get a good translation, like an up-to-date translation, is that actually these things aren't necessarily as difficult as they're sold to you as. And I think part of it is because like there is an elitism around classics and classical literature, which should not exist because it's for all of us. I mean, this was popular. These tragedies were popular literature to the people of their time. I won't say literature because they weren't all reading them. They were going to see them performed. But, you know, they were being performed to the public. They weren't like some elusive stories kept for the rich, you know? But like Shakespeare, isn't it? It's sort of like Shakespeare's might be written in a way that's different from we would write now, but it deals with kind of eternal themes, and if you just sort of translated it into modern English, it'd be fine. So I hope like the play wasn't sort of made you feel less daunted by classical literature. Maybe. I hope. I hope I haven't put anybody off reading more classical literature. But like on a first reading of anything, I don't think you do. Think like necessarily like I wasn't really sitting there thinking what themes are coming through in this book. Sort of had to sit down and think about that after. And that's as somebody who reads a lot of classical literature. I think on any first reading, for me as a reader, I'm always plot focused. That is like my focus on a first reading of anything is, do I like the characters? What do I feel about the characters? And what is the plot? And does it interest me? And then I'm able to reflect on the themes and then sort of appreciate them. I don't know if that's how other people read. I'm glad it wasn't like long redundant monologues. That's true. Yeah, they're properly interacting. Yeah, yeah. So I'm really glad it sort of didn't make everybody's negative perceptions of classical literature true. That is good. And I like with it. It's a play, isn't it? At the end of the day, as well, it's always going to be a bit better seen performed. Just can't help it. It's what it was designed for. It's always better with a bit of costuming and activity with the hands and the gestures and the voices. It's always going to improve it, isn't it? Um, yeah. Well, at least it's short, so the second reading is not too unachievable. Oh, good. Okay, definitely. Sorry, I'm like reading things probably slower than you guys are. I'm just hoping to feel less daunted in the future by classical literature. Okay, I'm glad. Well, actually, in saying that, we're reading more classical literature next, aren't we? We're reading Homer's Odyssey, which is a very different piece of classical literature because it's not a play. It's an epic poem. Although you can get prose translation. So I've got a verse translation I plan on reading, which is the Emily Wilson one. But the one I read in the past is the Evie Rue one, which is a prose translation, so it just reads more like an ordinary novel, which obviously can be a bit more helpful if it's your first time reading a verse poem or you're intimidated. Yeah, we're kind of keeping up the classical literature theme, aren't we? Which is quite nice. And hopefully it'll make it less daunting. I think there's beautiful imagery in the Odyssey. I think it's got like a really engaging plot, lots of characters, lots of gods and things like that. So I think it's quite a good one to sort of show you the accessibility and the diversity of classical literature. Oh, I'm so glad that you enjoyed Antigone more than you thought I would. The chorus bits. Yeah, I think perhaps the chorus seems more dense because I think in a way the chorus takes you out of the plot a little bit and the chorus draws more attention to the themes, if that makes sense. The chorus is very like introspective and almost engaging with the audience. So it's probably meant to be more dense. I don't know if that's right. It's been ages since I've like properly done a course or written about tragedy as a genre, but I think that would make sense. Hmm. Okay, good. We're all going to read more classical literature. Do you know what else I would recommend? Daphnis and Chloe by Longus. Have you heard me mention that one before? Or maybe Lysistrata by Antigone. It's a comedy. Did I just say by Antigone? It's leaving that late. By Aristophanes. That's a comedic play and it's very funny. Oh yay, someone that's read Daphnis and Chloe. Yes, Team Daphnis and Chloe. Team Daphnis and Chloe. Yeah, okay, Antigone didn't write anything. I think the chorus can actually be really helpful for sure, sort of like in elucidating on what's going on and sort of giving you insight. But it's not as natural, is it? Because it's less like normal people having a conversation because it interrupts actual characters having a conversation. Although they are characters, the chorus, but like in the like most barest sense. Yes! It makes me so happy when people tell me they read Daphnis and Chloe because I recommended it. It's literally like nothing I could be more pleased about on the planet. Oh, wonderful! I'm so glad Antigone like inspired you to read more classical literature. That's like the best thing ever. Oh, I know Oxford World Classics do an edition of Daphnis and Chloe. So the Penguin, but also like just regular editions. But you can also, those Penguin little black classics. There's a £2 one of those of Daphnis and Chloe by Longest, which is obviously much cheaper. So if you can find that online or something, probably have it in Book Depository. I had the Oxford World Classics edition, which I do love, but I'm sure the little black classics Penguin one is pretty decent. That's true. She does sort of. Yeah, so I guess in a way Antigone defends her rights as a woman. Like, these are the things that she's entitled to do. So, like, don't take those away from her too. Like, you can't take these away from me too. Like, which they kind of did in Athens, actually. Women's rights to do with burials got lessened as the state played more of a role, which might be part of this political themes of this story as well. So in Athens, as the democracy became more important, funerals became more of a public affair, and they also tried to make them less elitist by making them more public, because they were obviously trying to break down the sort of like hierarchy of wealth because it was a democracy. But that also meant that women lost out on some of the role that they played in funerals. So yeah, in a way, Antigone is defending her right to take care of her family, or at least the men in her family who have died and are being left outside to rot, which is pretty crap. Like, fair enough. So yeah, like, absolutely, she at least sort of defends her beliefs, which is pretty, like, still pretty strong. Yeah, I like that perspective. Oh my god. So that passage from Pericles' funeral speech I've just been writing about in this chapter of my thesis, because funeral speeches are pretty central to my PhD thesis. Don't talk to me about Pericles and his women are best not if they're not spoken of, whether they be praised or criticised. Like, you can't even praise women, apparently, according to Pericles, which is not also like, don't take Pericles' statement about not praising women for granted, because ancient Athens did praise women. That is one of my arguments. Pericles was a douche. I don't like Pericles. Can you tell? Yeah. Well, again, as we've established, Creon is also a douche. I'm sorry if I don't have the most scholarly way of talking about the classics. I swear I write about it more academically than I do talk about it. I just don't think I'm a very academic speaker unless I'm reading a paper that I've written. Yeah. Scholarly word for douche. Well, the problem is I don't think douche is a very unbiased word. And as far as possible, although we all have biases, and even scholars should accept that they have biases, you should try and use non-biased language. So I'm not sure there is an academic word for douche. Not really supposed to express opinions on the character of people. Trying to think the best way to describe it. Well, Creon does go against the values of ancient Greek society. So the ancient Greek or Athenians would not have liked him very much either. So really, he was a douche, even to the ancient Athenians. Still don't know what the right word is, but I think it would be fair to say that. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's read any other of these retellings of Antigone, the ones that were it's just called Antigone, the one that was performed during the occupation of Paris during the Second World War. I'm not yawning. It's only 35 minutes past 7. I'm not yawning. Problematic. No. He's not problematic though, is he? Because he's just crap. Like, I feel like problematic sort of like, there's good and bad. Although I'm not a massive fan of the word problematic, or at least I think it's overused slightly. I think Creon's just crap. Yeah, so it's just called Antigone, this play, and it's by Jean something. I'll tell you. Antigone by Jean. I can't pronounce that. Jean Anu. I'll just type it. So you can see. So it's Antigone by Jean Anu. If anybody knows how to pronounce that, I've not done French since high school. So that one was performed during Nazi-occupied France, and it was sort of intentionally meant to be kind of subversive and kind of against what was going on at France at the time. So it was like making a big deal. And I've not read it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. Somebody I know actually, that was part of their thesis because they just finished their PhD and it was on modern receptions of Antigone. So yeah, I'm interested to read more now that I've read the original. No, yeah, I suppose not all of his actions were criticized, and perhaps he started off in a better place and just descended into this sort of selfishness. Um, maybe, maybe. Everyone's so nice and nuanced about the characters, and I'm just like, meh, don't like them all. Bit a bit brutal. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, no, that's okay. I guess. Yeah, no. I just wonder, like, does he devolve or was he just better at hiding it at the beginning? Because I thought perhaps so it actually either would work. Either he's devolving over the play, which is one way, or he's just fooling people at the beginning, which also makes what he says at the beginning really interesting because he's saying it from a really insincere place. And I'm not sure which is true, to be honest. I kind of interpreted it as he was insincere from the beginning, or at least he thought he was upholding what he was, but he wasn't really, and he was thinking about himself. But perhaps it is more of a devolution. Perhaps I was just being harsh. I need to think of it more as like a gradual thing. No, that's very true. See, look, if I just read this play by myself, I would not have had as good an appreciation of it than I do at reading it with you guys. It's very good to converse about these kind of things. It's nice to it's like takes me back to university again to talk about literature again, sort of in a group scenario, and kind of break it down. So yeah, this is very good for me. I'm sorry, this is really bad. Maybe we could read Daphnis and Chloe together. That would be lovely. I'll have to get a new copy because I lost mine. Yeah, no. Okay. I can appreciate this. I'm reevaluating my initial opinion of Creon as just this insincere liar. Okay. Yeah, it's fine. We're too fast with our fingers now. Just sort of to be given. I'm always sending weird typos. Oh, sorry. My friend just texted me to tell me he didn't get a job. But anyway, it's not really relevant to this discussion. That's actually my flatmate's just home now. I can hear the squeaking of the stairs. I left a lot of vegetables chopped up in the kitchen to make my dinner. Yeah. Well, is there anything else in particular people want to discuss about the play? I don't know if we've been here for a while now. I'm never sure what's the sort of appropriate time to keep going for these videos. I really enjoy them actually. I'm always like kind of want to make them monthly, but then also I'm sure if we did them monthly, we'd end up becoming a bit manic and difficult to read the books all the time. Obviously, we were reading a shorter book this time, but the Odyssey is much longer. Yeah, I know. It's been 40 minutes, guys. Oh, what fun. Got a bruise. Don't know how. Literally don't know how I did that. Just a clumsy person, apparently. Yeah. So I don't know, you probably all got lives to get back to, and I should probably make my dinner. Um, but I really enjoyed talking about this because I feel like I appreciate the play more from talking about it with you guys. I don't know if you feel similarly to me. Okay, yeah. Okay, well, that's really good to know. I think I will definitely put Home Fire on the poll for the next one. And if we all collaborate and vote on it, then it'll win. Perfect. Uh, yes. That's a really interesting point, actually, because I think, like, obviously Antigone's values, like, are massively. She sort of in a way, Creon initially represents the state, and Antigone sort of represents the family and more traditional values. And yeah, you need to blend both, or at least like the Athenian democratic ideology would be to blend both. But yeah, I wonder, would Antigone have done it for somebody other than her brother, or at least like somebody she was close to? Like maybe she would have done it for Haman as well, or Ismene. But would she have done it for a stranger? It's an interesting question. Oh, good. That makes me happy. Yeah. I don't know if she. Yeah, I agree. I don't think she would have. But then like that's imagining a situation that's not occurring. Like the play is a construct meant to say something political, so it wouldn't have been. That would never really been a scenario that would have come up, would it? Ah, oh god, I don't remember that. That's super harsh. Jeez, oh god, why did that bit not stick in my head? Oh my goodness. So she maybe probably wouldn't have done it for Haman then. God, I'm gonna need to go back and reread this now. I'm thinking. See, this is a problem with like just like one reading. It's all very surface value taking in for me. Actually, I want to reread it again now after talking to you guys. That's really nice. I really appreciate that. Good job. Thanks. It's always handy to have someone like Zena as well who knows their stuff when it comes to the classics. Because I clearly don't. Yeah, but like let's be honest, in Greek literature in general, sons are often quite disposable to their mothers. Not always, but it's not uncommon for them to be quite disposable to their mothers. Yes, but then I don't think like that wouldn't necessarily have made the point that Sophocles was trying to make or fitted in with Greek values. Well, I suppose like they're a democracy, so yeah, they do want to defend ordinary people, but I still think like she wouldn't have played the right role in the story if it hadn't been a family member. And it's a myth after all, so it has a tradition. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really interesting. Sorry, I was just like reading your guys' replies. Really interesting. I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure what I've contributed to the discussion. But this has been really good. I should probably go though. It's been about 45 minutes and it's getting later and I haven't had any dinner. See, my problem now is like I don't want to stop it because I don't want to stop people talking. No, of course not. Yeah, exactly. He come like in Children of Jocasta by Natalie Haynes, Creon comes across terribly, and that might have also affected my reading because I'd read that retelling before I read the play. So yeah, like he comes across really badly in that book. Just goes to show kind of all these layers build up, don't they? Okay, no, I'm gonna have to go if that's okay. I'm really sorry. I hope you don't mind. I feel like I'm cutting it short, but it has been. It's not short, right? I really like this. I'm really enjoying this book club. Like every time, it just gets better. Yes, no, I think reading Children of Jocasta will be all the better having read all three of these plays, and also I think it still lends like reflection and makes some good points about the story. So like it still contributes something. I think all modern retellings contribute something to our understanding of a myth. Okay, right. We're all going to go have dinner or lunch or breakfast. And yeah, please feel free to continue leaving comments though, and I'll reply to them when this is just a video that you can watch unlisted, and we can still talk about it that way. So that's still like a thing. You can still do that. We're reading the Odyssey next, so I'm really looking forward to discussing that. Maybe I'll like set aside like a good hour and a half for that discussion because I feel like there's going to be a lot to say. So we'll make that a long one, and I'll make the poll, and I'll put home fire on it. Okay. Right, I've had a lovely time. Yeah, and I really love the book club. So bye, guys.